Hello, hello, and happy new year, everybody. Welcome to episode 11 of the Pound for Pound Show, the first episode of 2021. As you guys all know, 2020 is behind us, and obviously the world has returned to normal. Clearly, nothing has gone wrong. Everything is great. Things are back to normal. So it's a good thing that the calendar flipped over to 2021. So I am Philip, as always. Joining me are Ben and Russ. Thank you, gentlemen. Hope you guys had a great new year. And let's get right into these cards. We got two cards to break down this week. We'll talk about the one this weekend, and then the midweek card next week. We got us a bonus card, and then so we can save next week's, for the big upcoming pay-per-view. We'll dedicate tons of time specifically to that. So without further ado, let's get into the Saturday event. So pretty big main event for a fight night. Max Holloway and Calvin Kattar. Getting to see Max on there, it should be a good time. Russ, I'll throw it to you first. How do you see that fight playing out, and what do you want to see?
First off, I just want to say I'm fired up that they're back on Fight Island, because it seems like keeping them like in that bubble, the fights actually come through. You know what I mean? We don't have them all canceled, and they work out well, and they've just delivered on Fight Island. So I'm fired up about that. Also fired up, it's the first card on ABC. So that's like big stage for Max, huge. If he can get the win. The way I see the fight playing out kind of is similar to Holloway and Poirier. Like I feel like Kattar has the power advantage and Max has like the volume and endurance, but differently, I don't feel like Kattar has like the boxing like Poirier. I don't feel like it's at that level, and I feel like Max is going to just outlast him. I think he's been in countless main event 5-round fights. He knows how to pace himself. I just think he's going to be able to get it done in 5 rounds. Probably I see a decision. I don't see him stopping him, but I like his experience and his endurance.
And what about you, buddy?
Nice. I'd agree with most of what you said, Russ, but I would say Kattar's actually a slightly better boxer than Poirier. Kattar's just that's his bread and butter. He's one of the best boxers in the UFC, in my opinion. But I'd say the further it goes, it favors Max. Max has just an endless gas tank. He's got the experience on his side. I'm gonna take Max in that one. I think the experience is gonna play a big factor. And he looked great in his last fight against Volkanovski, but Kattar looked great in his last fight against Ige too. I'm gonna take Max though. Yeah, we'll go with Max.
Good stuff. Yeah, I was surprised the line was as close on that one as it is. We won't get into betting stuff till we get to the best bets, but the line's pretty close on that one. I think people might be sleeping on Max a little bit. Anytime you lose a fight in the UFC, people are ready to push you out the door. So,
Yeah, and you really only chalk that up as a loss if you're looking in the record books. Like, a lot of people think he won that fight. It was close, but really it probably was 3 rounds to 2 Max. And the first one was pretty close as well. So right. I don't think Max is like on a slide at all. I think he definitely has more to lose in this fight, but right. I do not think he's, in any sort of trouble in his career. He's still tearing it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It'll be an interesting one to see for sure. So
one thing to look for also, I would like to add, is that Volkanovski Ortega fight. Like, if Max wins, he's got to pray Ortega wins, because he's probably not getting the third fight after going 0-2. So like, it's critical that Ortega wins that title, and then we get Max with another title shot at featherweight.
That's probably what the UFC wants too, because Max is a more marketable guy than Volkanovski.
And everybody's pretty much more marketable than Volkanovski because he point fights. So it's just like, excitement wise, you want that Ortega Max fight, and you want Max as champion. If you're not a Max fan, you're pretty much not a fight fan. He's just awesome.
Very, very true.
I know it's a new Brian Ortega, but you guys remember the first fight. I don't know that anybody wants to see that again.
Oh yeah. It's been a while though. People evolve. Like,
That's
no,
true.
I know.
Yeah.
It's just,
Hey, Phil,
yeah,
this
I
is
agree.
bald Ortega. Different.
I know it is a new Ortega for sure. Maybe
It's like
he can,
sea level Kane. You know what I mean?
yeah, maybe he can grow the Dagestani beard between now and then, and he'll have a shot.
It's big trouble if he gets that going.
Yeah, so we'll have to see how it goes. But yeah,
All the hair just down here now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because it'll be how many wins will Max have to chain together if Volk holds onto that belt to get that third fight, and what will be the fans' thirst for that fight, because both fights went to decision, and I think it's hard to sell a third fight when two fights go decisions, no matter how close they are. So
they almost never do it. That's why it
Right.
has to be Ortega, or if he somehow loses, I could see him just leaving featherweight and going up to lightweight, getting in that super exciting division and getting some sweet fights in there. I would like to see Holloway-Ferguson fight, because if he loses, they're both like at the same level at that point. Throw them in there at lightweight, let's see it.
Right.
That'd be a great fight.
Yeah,
that's true. I just wonder that Max is willing to do that because of how the Poirier experiment went. I think that went pretty badly for him. So I think 145 is probably where he's going to stay and just try to chain as many until there's absolutely no other options.
Yeah,
I think,
that's why I'm saying only if he loses. If he wins, stay there. But if he loses, it's just like then he's just fallen too far down the featherweight rankings almost at that point. With the 2 losses to Volk, and then it's just. And there's like endless money fights at lightweight. So I just feel like that would be the way to go, but maybe, who knows, it's all speculation.
It's hard to say. Yeah. He's in his case, he's got a lot of years left too. He's got, he's
29 years old.
Yeah. He's, it would be a long road back, but he's got the time to do it. So, but it would be tough to lose 3 in a row and then come back and get back into the title picture. So
yeah,
let's see what happens. So, co-main event should be interesting. A couple guys who are known for banging, but they've been around and they got some miles on them. So we got Condit and Matt Brown in the co-main. Ben, I'll throw it to you first. How do you see that one going, and what do you expect from that fight?
Awesome fight. Should be a stand-up banger. 2 legends of the game. Condit looked good in his last fight against who was that? Court McGee.
Yeah.
And then Matt Brown. I don't know if I've seen him win in a minute. It's been I can't remember his last win. You guys know?
It's been a while. He's slipped a little bit.
But I in my opinion, I think whoever loses this fight should probably retire. I'm gonna take Condit. I think he's just the better. I think he's just in a better part of his career, and I'm gonna take Condit in that by. I don't think that's going the distance. So I'm gonna take Condit by KO. What do you think, Russ?
It's a good fight. Like you said, it's a legends fight. The 2 dudes that have been fighting forever. And, it probably is a loser leaves town match. Like somebody's got to go if they lose. And they're both pretty at equal levels. Condit beat Court McGee last fight, but Court McGee is not like really much. So like I'm taking Matt Brown in this fight. I think it's a really tough fight to call. Condit's basically only been stopped by submissions. Like I don't know if I've seen him get stopped by KO or TKO, and that's how Matt Brown usually finishes. So it's a tough fight to call. Should probably go the distance, I think. And I'm taking Matt Brown, but it's an absolute coin flip.
Yeah,
they're both like just awesome, but not what they were.
Agreed. And that's it should be interesting because, Matt Brown has always been a guy who really puts the pressure on people. And before the Court McGee fight, Condit was towards the top of the division. And then, he had a few fights where it just looked like he just showed up to he wasn't even there, like mentally, physically. He just walked into the cage and just got smashed. So I'll be curious to see if Matt Brown constantly puts the pressure on him, if Condit folds up his tent. At his prime, Condit was probably a better fighter, but, Matt Brown is a grinder and he makes fights tough on guys. So, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Couple interesting fights after that, Ponzinibbio, we haven't seen him in a while. He was pretty hot there, and then I don't recall seeing him fight for a while. But he's got a fight. He's pretty heavily favored against Li Jiliang. So, Russ, I'll turn it over to you first. What do you think?
I'm excited to see him come back. You know, he was on fire. Like he was on a 7-fight win streak prior to this long layoff. I looked it up to see when we last seen him because it's been forever. It was like 2018 was the
Was it the
last time.
Magny fight, his last fight?
I think so. Yeah. That
Yeah.
was the last time.
Forever.
Yeah. Forever. 2018 was the last time he fought. I think he had like something happen with his leg, I
Mhm.
believe. And then he had COVID issues, is what I read. So he's just had a multiple bad luck things come in there. But he was destroying dudes prior to the layoff. So I expect him to come back in there and finish by knockout again. Jing Lang is kind of aggressive and like susceptible to getting rocked. So I think Ponzinibbio is going to make a big return, remind people who he is.
Yep. I agree with everything you said, Russ. Ponzinibbio gets it done by KO. He was number 6 or 7 when he was like his last fight. You know what I mean? Number 6 or 7 ranked. 7-fight win streak. That guy is aggressive as hell. Just a savage. And yeah, I'm gonna take him also by KO.
Yeah, and he smashed Neil Magny. I don't know if you guys remember that knockout. It was
Yeah.
So
That was Magny's last loss, I believe.
yeah. So I was surprised because that's the type of knockout that like sends you home for good. So, but I was glad to see him come back. So, but yeah, that should be a fun fight. I'm glad to see Santiago back. So, and then speaking of fun fights and people that are fun to see, Buckley is back on Fight Island. So, you know, it's hard to not be excited about that. It's got a fight against I'm not super familiar with Di Chirico, I believe is how it's pronounced. I apologize if I'm incorrect. I don't recall seeing many of his fights, but Buckley is pretty heavily favored. Ben, I'll throw it to you. How do you feel about that fight? Maybe you know more than I do.
I don't know anything really about Chirico or whatever, however you say his name, but I know Buckley's a savage. He's got crazy knockout power, and we've seen him. We've seen some good performances his last 2-3 fights. So
last 2 were highlight KOs.
That's right. Yeah. So I'm gonna take Buckley just because of my lack of knowledge for Chirico, but I believe Buckley's got a really bright future. So he's on the rise. So what do you think, Russ?
I think it's a strange matchup. Buckley is on fire. You know, he's like one of their hottest prospects with the highlight KO of all KOs, and then he had another great one right after that. And this dude that Di Chirico is on a 3-fight losing streak. Mm-hmm. Like I wasn't even familiar with him, but I looked him up. I was like, a 3-fight losing streak, and you're going in against the hottest prospect. It almost seems like a setup just to, showcase Buckley again. Mm-hmm. I don't understand why they didn't make the Buckley versus Krause fight. Like they've both been calling each other out nonstop. I don't understand. And they're both like at equal levels. Why not why not book that fight?
That is true.
Yeah.
That's weird,
I thought the same thing. Maybe Krause is unavailable, but yeah, I kind of thought, I was like, maybe they're just, putting this guy in there hoping Buckley will do something crazy again. And, because it doesn't, and the odds certainly reflect that no one expects this guy to be competitive. So.
Yeah, it's one of those fights. It's just like, maybe they're just going to showcase him one more time before they start giving him like big fights. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy with it. I like to see Buckley do wild stuff.
Yeah.
Agreed. Maybe they told him, they're like, yeah, you can go out and throw all the spin kicks you want. You'll be all right.
Exactly. Yeah. Do something cool, Yeah.
So good stuff. Well, that kind of wraps up the main card portion of that card. So it should be a pretty fun one. So especially for a fight night. So hope everyone gets a chance to watch it, and we'll certainly recap it next week. And then we got us a midweek card. We'll just quickly touch on the main event there, and then we'll touch on a couple hot topics before we wrap up for the day. Next Wednesday, we've got a card going. We got Magny Chiesa against Neil Magny in the main event. Pretty super close on the line. So I'll throw it to you guys and see what you guys think. Russ, how do you see that one playing out?
That's another real tough one to call. It's 2 dudes that have been in there a long time. Like they've almost both have like been in the UFC for 10 years each. Both have been pretty consistent. They are never like real title contenders, but like they get right outside there, both of them. And they've been there for a long time, like right at that level. Chiesa gets a lot of subs, and he's like very big for 170. So I like him in that fight. I think he's going to be able to get Magny down at some point and put on a submission, hopefully, is what I'm thinking.
I'm going to disagree with you there. I'm taking Magny. Magny's gas tank is arguably the best in the UFC, one of the best in the UFC. We've never seen that guy get tired. He's on how many fight win streaks that guy on? I didn't do my research this week. It was like 5.
He's on a 3-fight win streak.
3-fight win streak. He's
Yep. He's got the wins over what do you got here? Wins over Diego, or no, Chiesa's on the 3-fight win streak. Oh, Magny's on a 3-fight win streak as well, but it's decisions over Jing Lang, Martin, and Robbie Lawler.
Oh yeah, that Lawler one was a good win. He looked good in that.
Yeah, and Robbie did not.
No, yeah, but Chiesa, you're right, has a big size advantage. If he gets it, it's that, you know, the contrast in styles. It's if Chiesa gets him down, that's Chiesa's game. If Chiesa can't get him down, then Magny's probably going to pick him apart and either finish it or go to decision. But I think Magny's just got such a big heart, and we've seen it in the past where he's fought guys that he should have lost to, and he's pulled through, and just that guy's heart is just so big, and he's just a born fighter. He's awesome. I love Magny, and I'm gonna take Magny in that fight. And I don't think Chiesa gets it to the ground, so I'm gonna take Magny by decision. I'm gonna take Magny by decision.
One thing you guys failed, you guys did a good job covering it, but I think the one thing you guys did forget about is that Michael Chiesa is a massive boner, and hopefully he gets his ass kicked.
Yeah.
That's what we would like. Get that dude out of here.
He's just good. They're both on 3-fight win streaks, and Chiesa has the win over RDA, which is like
that takes me off
win.
so bad. When I was watching that, I'm like, get up, you piece of garbage.
Yeah, it's just
yeah, he's a good fighter. Yeah, he's a good fighter, but he's not super entertaining, and he has the infamous "Don't talk about my mom" promo, which just makes him the most insufferable douchebag, you know. And I just want to see him get his ass kicked. Like, that's all there is to it.
Yep. Hey, you don't talk about someone's mother. Come on now.
That didn't even bother me as much as the selling the glass in the eye on the bus for like 6 months. That was the most annoying thing he's done ever. But I'm over it. It was a long time ago, and he's fought some good fights since then, so I'm fine with him.
Yeah, he's a tough dude. He's not the most exciting fighter, but he's a good fighter. Tough dude. I met him. I met that guy.
They're both vets, man. They've been in there forever, throwing down.
It still sucks. We hope he loses. Documented on camera. End of discussion.
He's a good guy, but yeah, we're rooting for Magny. This is a pro Magny team.
Awesome. Well, since we got so many fights coming up, Russ, why don't you tell the people how they can make some money this week? What are some good picks that you got for us?
Okay, for the best bets this week, we're going to do 5 because we're going to do 4 from the Saturday card, and then we're going to pick the main event on Wednesday. On the Saturday card, I'm taking Holloway minus 150 against Kattar. I'm taking Matt Brown plus 145 against Condit. I'm taking Ponzinibbio by KO or TKO. He's plus 155 on that prop.
How is that possible?
Because he's got to finish him by KO or TKO. Like if it goes to decision, that's a loss. You know what I mean?
But that's how he does it. Like, right? Like most of the time.
I know.
That's crazy.
And then I'm taking Buckley by KO, TKO plus 110.
Okay.
And then for the Wednesday card, Chiesa plus 115 in the main event. That's basically just straight up action bet, just to have something going on Wednesday night, because that's as much of a coin flip fight as you can find. You know, but we'll get something going.
Wow, some good ones. Those are all what's the word? Underdog bets or whatever, right? Or like
except for Holloway, he's, you know, and the other ones are favorites, but I took the props to get plus money on them. I want Buckley and Ponzinibbio to get the KO or TKO, you know, get the stoppage. Hopefully they do.
They're both almost 3-1 favorites, so it's really tough to just take them in the fight. So you got to kind of take the prop bets if you want to make any money. So
exactly, unless you want to unless you want to parlay like, you know, Buckley with Holloway or, you know, something fancy like that. Throw you know, Holloway with the Green Bay Packers this weekend. Whatever you want to do, get some action going.
There you go. Like that's almost like you know, that's a gimme because the Packers got to be like 80-1 favorites.
It's only a 7-point spread.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy. So, but it's not a football show. We'll talk about football another time. So we can talk about that all day long. So just a couple quick things we wanted to touch on, you know, to kind of bring the show to an end. First of all, you know, Russ, I'll let you start with this one. What is going on with Robert Whitaker?
I don't know. I mean, I just heard that Dana said he needs to fight again before he gets a title shot, when just like a couple months ago when that fight happened against Cannonier, it was a given that the winner was getting a title shot. So I don't understand why the change up. And then when I was thinking about it, it has to be because Izzy's moving up to win that light heavyweight title. And, you know, you don't want Robert just hanging around the whole time. That's the only thing that makes sense, is you just don't want him sitting on the couch for like 6 months, because Izzy's going to go win that title and then have to do another camp. So
yeah, that makes sense.
That's the only thing I could think, but initially I was very annoyed because I was like, why are you messing around with Whitaker? Like, he won the contender fight, like give him the title shot. But it kind of makes sense once I thought about it.
Yeah, I didn't think about it like that. I thought about it like more like he's not like a salesman, you know what I mean? He doesn't really sell himself or fights. He just goes about his business, and he doesn't really, he's not like a shill for the UFC, you know what I mean? Like, but I can see why they want him to fight again, just to raise his stock some more, because he needs it after that Izzy knockout took it down quite a bit. But he's coming off 2 great wins. I think he's earned it, the title shot already, but like you said, Izzy's fighting Jan, so that would be a long wait. So I'd say make him and Costa. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
he's just the absolute man, you know. So when I seen like that, I immediately like got like offended. I was like, what? Like, what are you doing? Like, he deserves the title shot. Give it to him. Like, just love Whitaker. But
yeah, he's a great human, a great fighter.
After settling down and thinking about it, I was like, it's because of the whole Izzy situation.
Yeah. It makes sense to keep him active, but, you know, that puts him in a tough situation because, you know, you earn a title shot, and then basically to keep a title shot you already earned, you got to go fight Paulo Costa. Like, you know, that sucks, you know, because that's certain, that is no walk in the park. You know, that'll be a real tough fight, especially for a guy like Whitaker who likes to go out there and bang with people. You know, you don't want Costa blasting you numerous times. You know, that's not going to go, you know, that's going to be a tough fight on him. So, you know, I don't know.
Extremely tough.
Great fight, though.
And, you know, Costa's going to be just starving for that rematch after friggin' Izzy gave him a little humping at the end. Like, you know how much rage he must have for that dude.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I agree. So yeah,
I would not want to fight Costa.
No.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, that's the way, you know, it crumbles sometimes. It kind of reminds me of like, until the very end, like the Romero situation, it seemed like he was always in line to get a title shot, and then something would happen. He could just not get that title fight. So it just happens to guys sometimes. Then you end up having to take other fights, and, you know, it's unfortunate the way it works out. Or, you know, like look at Tony Ferguson, like how many fights he won and just could never secure that title fight for an assortment of reasons. So, you know, sometimes it happens. And I guess, you know, even if you were to become the champ, you know, he's going to have to fight Costa at some point anyway. So, you know, you might as well get to it and get that, you know, hopefully he can win that fight. And then Izzy comes back down, he can get that rematch. If Izzy's planning on coming back down, you know, there's a lot of uncertainty on what's going on there as well. So
true.
Yep.
Very true.
We'll have to see how that goes. And then another topic, you know, we wanted to touch on, you know, we'll kind of close up with this is, you know, kind of let's talk, you know, we're like Geraldo here. We talk about we ask the tough questions here. You know, we'll chat a little bit about your guys' thoughts on fights, you know, having fans in the crowd as compared to no fans in the crowd. You know, it's definitely there's a lot to consider with that, you know, as UFC starts to look at bringing fans back in a limited capacity. You know, there's a lot that can be said on both sides. So I'll kind of open it up to you guys and get your thoughts. So, you know, Ben, I'll let you go first.
I kind of like the no crowd, you know what I mean? Because UFC fans in general are just so fickle, and it's like they boo the stupidest stuff, and you know what I mean? I personally like the no crowd. It's you can hear the impact in the cage a lot better. You could hear the announcers, you can hear everything just better. And I don't know, fans add a cool element too, though. Both are great, but this has been the normal for what, like about 8 months now or so. So it's going to be strange to get fans back in there. I think we're still a little ways off from fans, a full arena, but
for sure.
We'll see. We'll see with a small crowd on Fight Island. There's going to be probably like 50 fans or something.
Oh, they're bringing some in. They're going to have.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh,
they're going to have crowds.
Yeah. I personally like the no crowds. I could do either way. It doesn't really affect much for me personally, but I'm just focused on the fight. I don't really care if there's a crowd, no crowd, whatever. Russ, what do you think?
Yeah, it got me thinking like this week because I just watched some old fights and like immediately like that was the first thing like I noticed. I was like, wow, like it sounds so much different than like the fights I've been watching for the last 8 months. Then it like got me thinking how like I never even think about it when I watch the fights now. It just like became so normal so quickly just to have like silent arenas and hear like the corners and the punches and everything so clearly. It's just such a different experience. And I like it. I like I like the empty arena fights. I think like even when I know they won't do it because of money to be made, but like in the future it would be neat if they did do like maybe like some fight nights or something like from the Apex, just not like the huge fight cards, like just like up and comers and some of their smaller fights in empty arenas, just because it is kind of like a different experience and it's cool. But then of course, like there's awesome stuff about like the fans being there, like the big fight events, like with like Connor and like John Jones, like those huge events are just awesome. I mean, I would always want fans for those, but it's just different. I just couldn't believe how different it sounded. You know what I mean? When they're chanting USA and stuff and booing and like it's just going crazy for like shots and stuff. It's wild.
Yeah,
How quick you get used to like weird crap.
it is. It is
Mhm.
very strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, as a fight purist, it has been neat getting to watch the fights and being able to hear the corners and things like that, and just it's kind of a neat vibe. But definitely, when you got used to it pretty quick, and I think the first time that it was very weird at first, and then you got used to it. But I think the one thing that is really missing, and you don't really feel it until it's like that, super huge fight, was the Khabib fight. It didn't have as much of that like epic fight feel, when like a world championship fight happens, but there's no crowd. It just feels like a couple dudes fighting in a parking lot, and there is an element of that that's missing without like the energy of, 18,000 people or however many people, going absolutely nuts for like a big deal fight. Or just think of how different like the Izzy Costa fight would have felt, if it was, in front of, 20 to 50,000 people as compared to in front of like 18 dudes.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
there's a lot to be said. And then there's a lot to be said, like the money versus safety issue, like when is it safe to bring people back? That's certainly another
Safe
debate,
now.
but yeah, that's certainly debatable, but
Yeah.
there's definitely a lot to be said about both. But yeah, I kind of, I do enjoy it. And it's interesting because like I had a different perspective. I was watching like some old fights. I was watching some weird documentaries, and I was watching a lot of stuff on like the old like Pride fights and stuff like that, and how quiet those arenas were and what a different feel that was as well. So it's interesting how much of an impact the venue and the crowd has on the feel of the fight. So, and it got me thinking of like how it is for the fighters as well. How does that impact? You're fighting for a world title essentially in an empty building. Is that like good? Is it bad? When you're a fighter, do you just not care because once you're in there fighting, it's all white noise to you anyway? It's really hard to say. And I bet it's different for different people. I bet different people have different opinions. So probably you ask 20 fighters, you probably get several different feelings on it. So
100%. I was thinking about that too. I think there's some fighters that like will actually do better in the empty arena, like, just not worrying about like pleasing the fans and hearing their coaches and everything. And then there's other fighters who I think like feed off it so much. Like I'm very curious to see Connor next weekend because like of everybody, I feel like he feeds off that Irish
right.
crowd, cheering him on and just,
right.
eating up everything he says and does. So
That's right.
that's a big thing to think about. I'm excited for 100 reasons for that fight, but like I'm also interested to see like
How no crowd plays into it.
yeah, because like when you think about like an absolute spectacle, it's a Conor McGregor fight, and I don't know how many people they're letting in there, but it's not like anything like he's used to.
Right. But they that definitely got some people in there for it. So it will have at least some of that feel to it. It's not like a complete empty arena fight. So,
I
we don't
hope
want
they
to get
fly him straight in from Dublin.
We've got a whole show to debate this stooge next week. So we'll talk about that next week. So anything else you guys wanted to add to those topics before we wrap up for this week? You know, like I said, a lot of fights, and we'll come back and recap these next week and talk about the big pay-per-view event.
I think
Ross,
that's
you got
about
anything?
it. That's about it for this week. I'm just super pumped to hype up this next week's card. We got some good stuff coming in. Got some Poirier hot sauce coming in. We got some McGregor gear. We're fired up for this one.
Nice. I'm glad to hear it.
All sorts of stuff going on. Yeah, we should have an action-packed couple months. There's a lot of huge cards coming up. So, you know, there's certainly 2021 is kicking off in style for UFC. There's gonna be a lot of fights to talk about. So
Heck yeah.
we'll be here to talk about them with you guys. So until then, we will let you guys go. Thank you for joining us for the first show of the new year. I hope everyone's New Year's been great, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a good one, everybody. Enjoy the fights.